So Zeb, we've got to have a talk here for a second.
Go on, then. What's up?
Your fan base has bled over into mine, which normally people would be happy about, right?
Right.
I'm getting a lot of Zeb people coming over to my channel, which I appreciate very much. They're very kind, but there are little comments that they make, like, "This was a really good video. Did Zeb help you make it?"
Wow.
Who was that?
It was so funny. Let me see. It was
Oh man, that's awesome.
I love it.
Clifford.
Yeah, but Clifford is awesome, dude. He always is wisecracking.
That's just Clifford giving you a good wind up.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's always wisecracking.
And then there was another one mentioning Zeb in here too somewhere. I was like, where's all these Zeb fans coming from? I love it.
Hi, Barb.
Is that the dark one?
That is.
The one talking trash when I'm not around?
I'll talk it to your face.
He talks trash regardless if you're around or not, dude.
What's going on, man?
How much, bud?
Can't hear you, Barbara.
Hey, Barbara.
Brian, we've already been over this. I'll talk it to anybody's face, too.
Hey, if you think those finger tattoos threaten me, you're wrong, man.
Those? Nothing inappropriate written on it. So
Here it goes.
Hey, Barbara.
How are you?
Oh, now we can hear you.
No, yeah, I don't know. All of a sudden, stuff was off when it wasn't. Shouldn't have been. It was on mute, and I don't know why, because I was just using it. Now I lost you guys.
No, you didn't lose us. Come on.
Okay.
And there's Simon, and there's Joe, and Shane.
Hey, Heather.
What's going on?
Hey, Chip, Simon.
Heather?
Hello.
I like Simon's comment. Big Daddy Linux let me in. every week it's a surprise. You never know. Joe,
Chip.
what's happening?
I'm cold, man.
I feel
That's because it's cold out, Joe.
Yeah.
First and foremost, how's your daughter?
Much better. Yep, she had her stitches removed today. And let me tell you something. If it was my son, he would have been crying like crazy. But she is tough as nails, man. She is so tough.
So she's like her mom, right?
Yeah, exactly. God knows I'd been crying. You know, I've never had stitches. I would have been. I was watching this process like, man, she's the toughest 3-year-old I've ever known because she didn't even wince. She's like, whatever.
I think it's just
she got hurt, but at least she's okay. That's the main
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
and girls and women have a much higher threshold of pain, I think. Seriously.
I think I'm seeing that live in some cases.
Mm-hmm.
I had my spine fused 2.5 years ago, and I stopped my medications 8 days out of surgery, and they're like,
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's like so. Yeah, my daughter's the same way though. I mean, she had a C-section. They're going, don't you want anything stronger? She goes, no, just give me a Tylenol. It's like, you know. So,
Yeah.
Well, I hope everybody had a nice Christmas.
It was amazing.
Yep. Oh,
It
no,
was
here
too
it is.
short.
I got this great gift here from
Oh, I
Rocco.
like that.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Linux is user friendly. It's just very picky about who its friends are. I mean, how awesome.
Well, check this out. This was actually a Christmas gift as well. But
Nice. Call me
Ooh,
Big
nice.
Daddy.
Nice.
Love it.
Yep. So
And there's the cat.
Of course.
There's
she was
Michael.
sleeping here on the chair, so
Hey, Michael made it.
she's wide awake now.
You know, Barb, I'm gonna crack. Yeah, I better not because it's. I don't
Well,
wanna
go
be
ahead, say it.
friendly enough. Because I
What?
say you always have the back end of the cat in your
Yeah, because
face.
she does that to everybody.
Tells you what she thinks of you.
Yeah. I mean, her name is Creature for a reason, okay?
What's going on, Shane? You've been quiet.
Nothing much. Struggling with Lightworks.
Oh yeah. I was playing with that yesterday, just not like intensely, but just trying to figure out the regular, add in text, do basic clipping. I mean, the interface is a million times better than what it was before. At least the default interface, but it's still not. It's not as installing play and go, like it's not familiar compared to like Kden Live or whatever. Whereas Kden Live, you kind of go in, it looks familiar right away. The buttons you can pretty much figure out in about 10 minutes. But this, I mean, the features seem a lot more powerful. So I'm going to continue playing with it, but it's definitely not as user friendly.
It's super powerful until you want to export.
That's because you got to pay, right, for the
a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot?
It's like $300.
Oh wow.
It's $179 right now to 31st for.
Well, it's half price almost then.
Yeah. Ooh,
Everybody
bargain.
can buy it at that
In
price.
order to have 1080p, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
There is a subscription model that they're using too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I needed it to open red raw files. So
But you got to do what you got to do then.
Yeah, man. Those red cameras, they're quite expensive, aren't they?
I don't own one. The client that was doing work for, they own the camera.
Yeah, I thought those cameras were like
Yeah,
$2,000-$3,000 a piece or something.
No.
Oh, they're way more than
more
that.
like 10
You
grand.
could buy a house.
Oh my
Like
god.
$20,000 is how much those things are.
Wow.
Especially the brand new reds are like 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
They use some type of special gas or something inside them, right? To capture the images. I'm serious. They do something weird.
They have
they're
like
not
the
normal.
sensors are incredibly like super powerful and sensitive, so you can have like 8K,
Right.
8K everything in high quality and every like ridiculous DPIs and stuff. It's like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also the same company that's looking to build an Android phone.
Yeah.
Should be a great price.
$1,200, I think they were saying last time I heard.
Yeah, that's in line with the new phones anyways at this point.
Viper, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. What's going on with you guys?
Hanging out for another biddle.
Biddle.
Yeah, they use a helium sensor, but that's the name of the sensor, not the
Yeah.
actual gas inside. I got you. Okay.
I'm also testing DaVinci Resolve under for Fedora. But
Fedora, whoa.
yeah, it was easy to install on
In
that.
Fedora it was?
I thought you were
Yeah.
an Tergos guy, man.
I am in Interrogos, but it's hard to get DaVinci to work on that, and it was easy on Fedora.
Yeah. So did you use like Copper or something, or did you use the make sh thing?
I just used the Fusion repo to get the NVIDIA driver running, and just Blackmagic's normal installer.
Is there the reason I actually can't stand DaVinci Resolve is because they chose the make sh.
Yeah, but I had to reinstall my Intensity Pro 4K to get audio output from it, though.
It's okay. Live's good.
So Caden Life's good, yep.
That's a very interesting name, Alan. He can't hear it.
I
So
tried Shotcut recently, and it's quite good, like functioning, like features and all this
UI,
stuff.
not so much.
Like it's actually really good. I think as far as like the basics, like a basic user's like getting into video editing, Shotcut is fantastic. Its rendering is awful. Like it takes forever, and it's like 3 times larger file sizes for no reason.
Wow.
Like I had a 10-minute video I tested in Caden Live. It took 4 minutes to render, and it was about 60 megs. And Shotcut took 20 minutes to render, and it was about 220 megs. It's like no.
well, how about the stability on it?
Actually, I don't remember a crash at all. Yeah,
That's good.
it was fine. And like I just don't like the fact that it took so long, and it was a 10-minute video, and the rendering took longer. And if I had just recorded it with my screen capture tool while it played in full, no,
Wow.
that's a bit much. But it has a lot of cool features, and I do like. And I didn't even know this, but the framework, the MLT framework that Caden Live uses to do all the rendering and stuff, the people who make Shotcut also make MLT. So
I'm just looking on their webpage, just their website.
Raspberry Pi?
Yep.
See, I use Caden Live, but I know that it has so much more potential than I know how to do with it. And I have said for so long, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to watch a full tutorial on how to edit, or not how to edit, but how to use every feature of Kden Live, and I still haven't had the time.
That's funny, Rocco. It's really funny.
Just saying.
I actually added a new feature I noticed last week. I was editing something, and I was like, I wish I could do this. I'm just going to look it up and see if I can. Oh, I can. Okay, cool.
Well, okay, I got to ask you, because I was in the middle of editing the episode last week, and I so didn't want to move. I cut something out of the middle, and I so wanted to squeeze it together.
You can,
and you can, I guess, but without grabbing all of the files that were all over here.
Yeah, you can.
You just right click and select them all. You can move.
No, but there's in the thing there, it looks
right-click empty space, and it says remove space.
Yes.
You can also right-click remove space from all tracks. It just removes that individual space location from all tracks.
But just the empty space, right?
Just that one empty space.
The one you're clicking on.
Yes.
Yeah, see that, and it did it, and I watched it do it. I'm like, man, I'm not going to hit save, because if I mess this up, and I just did undo and just redid it. But
oh yeah, I've had some rage and stuff like that. But as long as you don't click the wrong track, you have to click the specific track of the segment you want to remove, and it will remove that segment from all tracks, but only that one segment. If you right click underneath that and you click the bigger track, you just ruined a bunch of stuff.
Right.
So it is actually pretty solid, and I've had I've used remove space since I found it. Probably about 1,000 times now. Way more than that. A couple of thousand times now.
It would be so much easier now that I found it and now that I know what it does. But I was so afraid to use it on that episode, because I'm like, man, if this screws this up, I'm done.
Oh, by the way,
DOS Geek has a great video out there on that stuff. You should check it out, Rocco. And he talks about just that feature. Yeah.
Man, that surprises me for that channel, because that guy's editing is terrible.
You know what's crazy about that is that if you select everything and move it, you're more likely to break the location of stuff than just the remove space.
It depends on what you're trying to do, but I use remove space probably the most, but you can select everything and move it as well.
What I've been doing is,
and then you have transitions on those, and then it just destroys everything.
It destroys the transitions. It does. It absolutely does. Because I have taken, what I've done is I've done the whole video, and then I've found this outtake that I wanted to put in the beginning of the video. So I move it over there, and I have to move everything, but I have to move everything except for what's in front of it. So then I hit Control A to select all and uncheck the ones I don't want to move and move them, and I can add it there. But you're right; it doesn't move the transitions. It moves the tracks.
If you move too many transitions, it'll just collapse and break everything. It just ruins everything. Like I've had entire Kden Live files where I was 99% done, wanted to move it, did what you would expect to do, and then it just destroyed the whole thing, and I had to start over.
So Shane, in Lightworks, any issues like that you've run into yet?
Not so far, other than I had to create a swap file because it was using over 20 gig of RAM with a 4K video.
Wow, dude.
But it auto saves continuously though, so
auto save, what a feature. My gosh.
And honestly, it works.
Do you know how many times I have done multiple edits and then forgot to save? Just messed everything up.
OCD about saving. I changed something, Control S.
Yeah, in Lightworks you can just close the program because it doesn't even have a save option.
Because it just auto saves.
Yep.
Rocco's like, someone's downloading Lightworks.
Wow, I'm going to try Lightworks out. So let me ask you, Shane, how is it if you've used Kden Live, right?
Oh yeah, for years.
Okay, so how is it for somebody like me who only knows how to use Kden Live and never used a different video editor? How easy to pick up?
And can't read very well.
and slightly stupid.
I still edit in a similar way using the in and out stuff on the using the I and O key and putting it into the timeline.
Okay. Like it's somewhat similar, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get used to the way they do everything because they have the effects on a completely different, like the timeline and the effects section are in different tabs in a whole different.
Yeah, they're a whole different tab.
Are you going to be able to try Lightworks, Rocco, and Solus?
Was that a dig on Solus, Ryan? I'm
Not
sensing.
I'm
sensing some issue there, or
just
some
a question.
Animosity.
How you'd be able to install it on Solus?
Well, let's see. It's not in the software center, so
because it is a deb and an RPM, and Terrago sits in the AUR.
There's no source file.
Oh no,
it's not open source.
Bogus. How am I going to try it on Solus, Ryan?
I'm installing it right now. It's amazing.
You should send him a message and say, "Hey, you should make a snap."
Yeah, that would be nice.
They're not going to make a snap, dude. They're not Spotify. Okay.
They should make a snap or nap image, either one. I don't care.
So if it's an RPM, I should be able to install it on Rosa 10 easy enough.
Are you running Rosa?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
You're not on Peppermint?
How is that?
Peppermint's on my laptop. They're still there.
Oh,
okay. It's always on Peppermint. That's always on.
I was going to say Lightworks works great in Peppermint. No surprise there, though.
Did I tell you about my Rocket League car, Zeb?
No, go on. What is it?
My Peppermint Rocket League car.
Super.
My red and white with the spearmint.
Frankly, it really didn't help our gameplay today.
It didn't really. It's there to look pretty. It's not
because
there
you don't have the peppermint wheels yet.
I don't have the peppermint wheels. I don't. But I have red and white wheels.
And although I've really dug into LXQT before, this is running really well on Rosa. Exceptionally well. So when they start producing it in this sort of quality in Ubuntu's, it'll be brilliant.
Nice.
Wow, that was a showstopper.
Cling, cling, cling.
We're all looking to see about it.
Wait, how many people here have even tried Rosa?
Nope.
Years ago.
Yeah, so years ago. KDE4 was the last time I tried Rosa. So
yes,
well, Rosa LXQT is really good.
Well, I'm not. I don't know if I'm.
You lost me at LXQT.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm not really an LXQT guy.
And now that you run LXQT, as an XFC guy, I can make fun of you.
What were you going to say, Simon?
I'm going to grab the ISO from this real quick so I can see if I can take anything good out of it. Like, see if there, because just looking at screenshots, just from a quick DuckDuckGo of it, it's looks decent, but it also uses. It looks like it uses one of the defaults. I think it uses the Breeze theme, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm definitely going to look into this because it seems like an interesting project.
Chicken, what do you think?
Hell, chicken.
What do you think of Rosa, dude? Come on.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, fine.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm just working with my microphone. I liked it. I mean, I prefer Fedora if I'm going to go the RPM route just because I'm more familiar with it. But, I had some issues on one of my
You're not an NVIDIA guy, are you?
I am, actually.
Then why are you on Fedora?
Kind of both. That's a good point. That is the one thing I struggle with.
Because he's chicken to commit to one.
There you go.
There we go. There we go.
But NVIDIA was easy to install on Fedora.
Sometimes there's some hiccups, especially with my card. I had some really big issues. I had to change some things when I was compiling the module for it because just with some I had.
I just followed the instructions on the RPM Fusion site and it went straight in, so I was lucky, I guess.
Yeah, well, I didn't know they had that in RPM Fusion until after I had already gone through that. Right. Yeah, I didn't think drivers were included in that list.
Yeah,
so that was a bit
Basically
embarrassing.
What you do if you run Fedora is install RPM Fusion and then check RPM Fusion for everything.
Mm-hmm.
which I didn't, and that was bad.
It's unfortunate because RPM Fusion is like the only way that I think Fedora is usable.
I agree.
But once it's up and running, it's perfectly good, perfectly solid.
Yeah.
Everything you need works, so it's good.
It's been chugging along on my well, it's an AMD machine, but it's been chugging along since I built it about 2 months back. And
Rocco, I got a quick question at the sidetrack, but I just looked over at the live screen and I thought they were there for a second and disappeared. And I went to look again and nobody's names are there. And I'm just wondering, they're all going to wonder why we're calling this poor kid a chicken. And it's not. And I don't know where he came up with that.
Well, okay. And here's the thing, Joe. There is a switch in Zoom to turn off the names.
Okay.
And I don't think I have that set, but I noticed before that Zoom has certain issues with that specific area where you check it and to leave off the names. And like I have it checked for when I record Destination Linux to leave off the names, and it does, and then all of a sudden they'll pop up.
Yeah, because I just glanced over and saw him for a split second, but I looked at last week's show and didn't see him, and everybody's wondering why we're calling this kid a chicken. And he's got names. He's got Alan. Say what it is, because I can't make out the chicken, El Chicken, or whatever.
The chicken, El Chicken.
Yeah, that what he said. Anyway, when we first started the stream, the names were there, and now they disappeared. So, like I said, there's a setting in Zoom, and I don't think it quite works 100%. Sometimes it's on, and sometimes it's off. Even
I mean, they're showing. When I look at my Zoom.
No, they just popped on.
No, they've been showing the whole time on my instance of Zoom here. It's got everybody's names on it.
Well, Zoom is on, but I'm talking about the live feed. They're on there now, and now
I've never noticed whether they were on there or not. So they just mentioned it.
The only reason why I even spoke up was because I'm thinking if anybody who's watching this, you know how if you don't read a question and you're answering it, they don't know what was asked. And I just want to let people understand why we're kind of teasing them about that. And, you know,
no, it's
at first.
In fact, you've upset him so much he's left.
Yep, pretty much.
Great job.
He's offended.
Great job, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Anyway, like I said, it's a little bug in Zoom where they appear and then they don't appear. So I don't know exactly why, but
and he's back.
Not much I can do about that.
The chicken's back.
The chicken switched devices because people are currently watching Netflix.
Ah, gotcha.
Really, Alex?
Netflix must have all the bandwidth.
Unfortunately, yeah. It's a monster.
So Viper, you're new to the stream. What do you run, dude?
Solus.
Nice. See? A smart man there. That's what I'm telling you.
But what sort of spec machine are you running it on?
Core i7 7700K, GTX 970.
Nice.
So, okay, so there's a lot of people in this room that we won't mention Ryan's name that feel that Solus is very limited as far as software. Do you find that it's limited in software that you need?
I find everything that I need.
See?
Everything's
Where's that Lightworks at, Rock? Could you get it installed? Because I'm playing with it right now.
I'm still trying to find it right now. Just leave me alone.
Check your chat.
Link in the Zoom chat.
Hey, Rocco, check your chat there, buddy.
Check the Zoom chat.
Look, I'm busy hosting a stream here. I don't have time
trying to
to
keep
do
me under
that.
control. He doesn't have
You don't
time.
have to check the chat. The chat is a link to a forum post saying, "Will this work on Solus?" And and people in the Solus team saying, "No."
So there's your answer.
I love it.
Well, they say if they make an app image or a Flatpak or a snap, yes, but otherwise,
Don't get me wrong. I love Solus. I do. I think it's amazing. I just the limit.
Well, why would we
the
want to use?
software is the problem.
Why would we want to use antiquated software? Because it says here, right from the Solus forums, that the package request for this is already rejected as it needs some older maintained libraries. Why do we want to use antiquated software?
Exactly.
Look at Anna, Rocco. Ryan, you are the man. Tell Rocco to suck a lemon as he will be on Rosa Distro next week. Bam! Bam! The fans have spoken. The fans have spoken.
I don't even like lemons, okay? So there.
Okay, what about a lime?
Yeah.
A lime will work.
Anyway, Rocco, you've not got no time to play with Lightworks. You've got to get used to Caden Live, haven't you?
You right? I know. Well, I
That's
got
after
to
he,
first watch the videos.
Installs Rosa. There's his next thing.
One video.
I'll just wait for Michael to put out a video on Caden Live.
How dare
You'll be waiting a long time.
That's why I said I'm going to wait for Michael.
Yeah, Mr. Procrastination.
Hey,
Caden Live will be retired at that point. There'll be a whole new product.
Are we up to 210 videos in the list?
Hannah Montana will have had kids about 3 times over at this point.
Michael, I wouldn't take this at all. I wouldn't take it if I were you.
They'll each have their own list.
I'm actually incredibly offended that people would say things so horrible. I mean, you're implying that I wouldn't even make it until it became Caden dead, and that's
What's happening, Scrap?
Hi, Scrap.
Hey, Scrap, we gave you a plug on Destination Linux last week, just so you know.
What?
For SJ Studios, baby.
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's your next guest there, Rocco, for DL. Music production on Linux.
What?
He's got to make the channel before you can talk about him making the channel.
Yeah. Well, the channel's made. There's just no content on it. That's all.
The channel's there
like
though.
Not even branding.
Okay, fair enough.
Like, there's no images. There's nothing.
It's a
What are you waiting for, dude?
Holidays to be over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So guess what I ordered, Scrap?
SJ Studios becomes the thing.
Did you get it? Did you get the thing we talked about?
The Euphoria Behringer
1820.
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't go for the 1820. I went with the 404 HD.
Very cool.
Yeah, man. So I will have that probably this week, and we'll be trying it out in place of the Focusrite. So
sweet.
I'm pretty excited.
That's what I got here.
So
I'm pretty excited that he's excited.
You know, I bought a Audio Box USB 96. It seems to be working okay.
I have a Rock Band microphone with a USB. And,
it is an interface all in one.
I have one of those too.
Michael, are you using software to compress your sound or anything, or is it literally?
No, it's really just directly plugged in from the mic.
Zeb got one.
No,
No
Zeb
way.
got one as a backup.
There you
awesome.
go.
And just to prove, there you go.
Rock Band. Oh my
Well, it's
god.
Logitech, I think that says.
Michael, what have you
And that says
started
Rock Band, yeah.
The other cool thing is I was looking at buying a Rocksmith for my wife because she's been bugging me to teach her bass. Well, you can learn to play bass or guitar on Rocksmith, and the cable it comes with works on Linux as an interface. So if you play guitar and you just want to plug some tracks in, and
Now, Rocksmith was the serious version of Rock Band, right? Where
it's not even a version of Rock Band. This is sit down and shred it.
It's legit.
You need one of these back here for that.
A real thing? What?
Yeah.
It's designed to teach you how to play.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you
and it does have difficulty levels too, which is cool.
Doesn't it have the Does it have the adapter thing? That's like the I don't know if it comes like. Does it come with that? This plastic adapter that you pull the pieces off, or is it just just the game?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. I saw one of those adapters at the music shop the other day. I'm like, what the heck is this thing? And for some reason, I think it's cool that people are now kind of taking the Rock Band thing, and it's a little adapter that goes. For those that don't know, it's a little adapter. It's a little thing that goes up here on your neck. And what it does is when you push the little buttons, it has little fingers inside to make all the little bar chords, and you can go up and down the neck with it. It's weird.
Nice.
Wow.
So
you still have to strum, and you still have to know how to tune the thing, though.
So it's a capo on crack.
It's a cheat.
Yeah, it's a. I wouldn't say it's a
hacks. It's hacks.
Yes.
Hey, Rocco, we can learn instruments now based on what I'm hearing. You pick up the recorder. I've got the clarinet. We're gonna start.
I used to play the recorder. I'll have you know. I was an ace on it. At least in third grade, I was. I was an ace.
That's a kazoo.
Have a record.
Closest thing I have to a string instrument is like a compound bow.
Well, it does make a thud sound.
Yeah. It's nice one note kind of.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Can we get back to Linux, please?
Yeah.
Really. Jeez.
People in chat are talking about making food for each other. They're so bored.
Yeah, they're so bored. Come on.
They're talking about salsa and burritos. And...
They're like anything.
All right. So did everybody like get their things together from last week? Their big thing for 2017. Their predictions for 2018.
Oh.
Yes, I have one.
I was like, what are you talking about?
Took me all week to think about it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's have it.
Who, me?
Spit it out.
Okay. What I was thinking of for 2018 is that, and I know some people don't like it, but is Electron, and I think it's going to really become a lot more popular than it already is becoming.
I agree.
Huh?
I agree.
Yeah,
I have to agree.
The thing is, first of all, if you are if you're doing software development and you are a one person shop, and you have to do write something or want to write something for more than one operating system. Let's say you want to do something for some distro of Linux, and you want to do something for Mac or Windows. Having to write that in C++ or even with Qt, you have to do a bunch of stuff with Qt. It's not as, they make it sound like it's really easy. And I think that this is going to become a lot more popular. And I think they're also going to make it resource-wise better. I haven't had any problems with it in terms of using my resources. And if you look at things like Etcher is done using Electron, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and there are a lot of things out there. People, talk, Visual Studio, guess what? Microsoft rewrote it using Electron. They even say it on there when you go to
Visual
download
Studio
it.
Code is Electron. I don't know if regular Visual Studio is.
Yeah, no, just the one that the freebie one that they have. Yeah.
It's just
what is the
irony
worry about Electron in the Linux community? Why do people not like it?
It's wah boohoo. It's not native. Wah boohoo. It takes up too many resources. Wah
Yeah,
boohoo.
there's one part of it that's proprietary because it uses.
Like we're our own worst enemy sometimes.
I've come across a lot of people complaining about Electron, and I found that a lot of them are also the people complaining about System D. So
yeah, they're kind of.
Wait a minute. What is proprietary about Electron?
From what I understand, isn't it like the where it's got the core part of it using Chromium? That's about the only part that's
Chromium's not proprietary.
No, I know it's not, but
Electron's not proprietary.
Yeah,
it has Node.js, which is open.
Yeah.
It's got,
everything else on it is open. I know that, and I've been using it, and it's really
only uses Chromium. It doesn't use the Chrome features.
And people complain about it using resources, and I've been tracking that, and it's not using.
It absolutely does use a lot of resources. I've made 35 Electron apps, and it totally uses a ton of resources.
Michael, what was the terminal emulator that someone wrote in Electron?
I don't remember. There's 3 of them, though.
Well, but my point is, yes, there are certain things Electron is not ideal for. Terminal emulators.
Like anything that's supposed to be like system native, like I understand what some things would be great. There's this thing called Turk, and it's a wrapper. It's a web app thing to make Evernote like reasonably useful on a Linux system, and it's fantastic. I like the way they're doing it, but a file manager and a terminal don't need to be on Electron. That's excessive. But there's there's at least 2 file managers, and there's definitely 3 terminal apps that do.
Yeah, I'm looking at the terminal ones. There's one called Railsware Upturn. Black Screen, a modern terminal
also.
emulator used based on Electron, and I don't know what the third one is.
Yeah, Upturn was the one I looked at.
Yeah.
It has ideas that are interesting. It's just using.
But you don't need it. I mean, for that, you'd be better off with something, you know.
Yeah, we have plenty of stuff.
Like we got a ton of that.
Stuff. Yeah, but like I think Electron is great. It has a lot of benefits, and a lot of people give it a hard time because it uses a lot of resources and it uses a lot of file space, and that's totally true. It absolutely does, because it's based on Chromium, so it automatically just uses a lot of space because that's what Chromium does. So you have a minimum of 100 megs to 200 or 300 megs, depending on what it's doing, per Electron app running. Like, always you have that, and it could be more depending on what it's doing, but it's at least 100 every time, and it's about 150 megs of storage space used.
Yeah, but I think the biggest complaint that I hear is the fact that it's not native. That it's not a real app.
Yeah, there are some
just an Electron app.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's kind of, who cares?
You know, it's like when you take something that's interpretive language, programming language, and you can say the same thing. Well, it's really not native. It's running through an interpreter. So every time you run it, it's it keeps interpreting the code.
In that sense, the interpreter has become a native thing as long as the interpreter itself is native based. So like you can kind of get away with that. There's a loophole there, but you could also say there's a loophole with Electron too. I think that's fine. If you can run the Electron app offline, then it's definitely a native. You can call it with the loophole.
That's the part I haven't played with yet. I've been playing with it, and I haven't. I should just disconnect myself from the network and see how it runs.
Most stuff
it should, because I'm not asking it to do anything from the web.
Well, I think the only Electron app I have on is the Google Desktop Music Player.
I was just about to say that's in the list here that I'm just looking at.
And that, I mean, obviously it's not going to run offline because you have to connect to get to the music, but it is able to operate offline. It's just not able to play any songs. So,
well, there's like, for example, there's a To-Do app I found that works solely offline.
Right.
You can, because it stores everything in local storage in the browser, but it also, and like as a RAM usage, but then you can also like send it to the you can store it in your home folder and stuff like that too. So it's just 100% offline, but they still use Electron so that it can be like cross-platform and stuff. That's fine.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. I've been playing with it, and I actually like it.
I mean, I think Electron is fantastic. It's just there are certain parts where it's great. Certain parts it's just maybe not.
Yeah,
but
it's just like any other framework. It's got its pros and cons. I mean,
I mean, if I hated it or something, I wouldn't be using it all the time. So.
It's a whole lot easier to develop something using that than C++, which I've done, and I'm
also
swear at it.
I cheated. When Electron came out, I was like, fantastic. I'm a web developer who can't make software or just like desktop software really, I wouldn't say terribly, but I could, man. But Electron comes out and was like, oh, you can use all the stuff you already know. Great, perfect. Making 20.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big advantages of it. And I just found it's a lot quicker to do stuff than it is with like C++ or C or whatever. Spent too many years with those. I just want to have something that's fun, that works.
All right, so who's next? Electron going to be big in 2018. Who's next?
I guess I'll go with the same one I said last week, and that's that Wayland still won't be NVIDIA friendly in 2018.
Or 19 or 20 or 21 or 22.
I agree with the 2018, especially with the new memory allocator they released. They released the code, and it was a big deal. People looked at it and were like, yeah, this needs work.
Shock, surprise.
I mean, I think you guys are playing it too safe. You got to go with predictions that are edgy.
All right,
so I'm going to say
I got one then.
Linux overtakes Mac OS in market share.
I was thinking about that one.
That's
actually
somewhat possible depending on like where the Mac come from.
It's a little edgy.
It's a little edgy, but what did we say? What did we qualify that with? That
Chromebooks are included.
Chromebooks are included.
Then
It's
it's
so
already
bogus,
dead.
dude.
No,
Developers.
Chromebooks
It's
shouldn't
so
be
bogus.
included.
No, they should be because I mean, it's still
Gen 2 for all the Gen 2 fans.
Yeah.
It's bogus.
Yeah,
But
I
it
wouldn't
is
include
technically Linux,
Chromebooks.
though. It is a Linux desktop. It's just not a GNU Linux desktop. Actually, kind of is with the Gentoo base.
Like I don't see why it specifically needs to be like every other Linux desktop just to qualify. That doesn't make sense. I mean, by that case, I mean Ubuntu shouldn't be Linux as well. That should be Ubuntu, which is separate from Fedora and all the others. We shouldn't count
Because
them
it's
together.
Ryan's prediction. That's
Well, right now, I mean, if we're looking at Chrome OS being the Chromebook 0.3,
Chrome OS cannot be included. Absolutely not.
We've got the Ryan fanboys in chat tonight as well. Have you seen them all?
What were you going to say, Tom?
Oh, you mean chat's open in general? Because that's when the fanboys come.
right now, Chrome OS on W3 schools, Chrome OS is 0.3%. Linux is 5.5. Mac is 10.2.
So you got a long way to go, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
What if we say Linux surpasses mobile? Mobile's at 7.3. Linux is 5.5. There we go.
I'm sticking to my prediction. I think Mac has had a terrible year. I think
have.
they're going to continue to have a terrible year.
And they're
And all of
even-
these YouTubers that I follow that are big Mac folks who do, have millions of subscribers are doing nothing but trashing the new Mac systems and saying.
But they keep buying them and they keep using
But
them.
I think this
It's
is the
crazy.
last
But,
run.
okay,
Silliness.
I'm a Mac user. I've been a Mac user since 2010. And I don't think I'm ever going to buy another one, not with what they've done with it in the last 2-3 years.
Exactly.
The keyboards suck. My
Yeah.
2010 MacBook Pro that I put Solus on because the new High Sierra, it just runs like a.
And
like a
unlike
hawk.
Windows users, Mac users are not our enemies. Mac users are they are certainly people I think who are most likely to convert to Linux and will they are
And I agree.
in a way they in a way were sick and tired of Windows for a long time and in a lot of ways Mac users, and I remember this prevalence of Mac users I knew back in the 90s. It was like, why are you using a Mac, man? I mean, it's so old and antiquated and blah, but they stuck with it. They are hardcore. And now that Mac's kind of, dying and it's just not as what it used to be, I think that they're the most likely to convert to Mac.
No, I agree
Linux,
with you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but diehard Mac users are going to stay Mac users for the same reason Windows users stay Windows users.
Yeah. You're not going to change the fanboys. They're not going to change.
Yeah.
But I think people who want to be able to get things done and do whatever, I haven't found really anything that on my Mac that doesn't have an equivalent or even the same thing in Linux.
Mac has one program, and that's their video editor. That's
Final Cut.
Yeah, amazing. Outside of that, there's nothing on that platform that matters.
Final Cut until they screw up the UI some more.
But Final Cut is amazing. I will not take that away from them. It is one of the greatest video editors, probably consumer grade video editors on the market.
Final Cut.
It's been probably 4 years.
There you go. Final Cut 10 is awful.
Is it really?
Final Cut 7 was
they
fantastic.
butchered that UI to no
Yeah,
end.
it sucks.
Why am I not surprised? You need a dongle just to boot it?
Yeah, probably. You need a dongle for everything now with that.
Don't get trash talk my dongles.
The more they try to upgrade it, the more they break stuff. Like,
I know at least 10 people who were using it for years and were like exclusively Final Cut fans, and they came out with 10 and was like, well, Adobe Premiere is a thing.
Yeah.
So somebody asked any word on DaVinci Resolve. You're going to have to clarify that. But here's my issue since he brought that up. DaVinci Resolve, why is everyone saying they could get this installed and I've never been able to? Am I that bad on Linux? This thing never installs.
I've never tried it.
Do we have to answer that?
I was going to say,
You
do we
can't
have to
install
answer?
it in Arch. You can't. If you try to run it in Arch, it will have all these broken dependency. Completely will not work.
That's what Arch is for.
Okay.
If you
DaVinci
can't
Resolve
install it in
14.
Ubuntu, I mean, you guys may be able. I couldn't get it to work in Ubuntu at all, or any Ubuntu-based Debian-based distro.
Which is really
I
weird.
could get it to work in CentOS, which is what if you read their README file, because I mean, I have their actual physical software. They say you have to use CentOS.
Yeah.
It's not in the Solus Software Center, so it doesn't exist.
I mean, I'm looking at their download page.
But I've heard several
Neither
people
is Light
saying they
Works.
use DaVinci Resolve So I'm scratching my head like, are you all running CentOS or what?
It's probably because they're probably running a RPM based distro.
Yeah, it installs easy on Fedora.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll
Just checking.
cry about dependencies, but you just install the dependencies until it's happy.
So you have to have like a Fedora or CentOS or something.
Yeah, and make sure you have the CUDA drivers installed.
So you just got to use a good distro, more or less.
Oh, wow.
So anything not RPM?
Well, it says on their download page you can use Mac OS or Windows.
Oh, well, there you go.
There you go.
No.
We want to use a better operating system, not backtrack to go to worse.
I'm just saying. I just read it, so.
Jonas, what are you doing in chat and not in here, man?
Yeah, why are you not in here,
People
dude?
mentioned Gen 2. They were trying to diss on it. You're basically the Gen 2 guardian. You got to get in here. All right. Sorry, I interrupted your prediction stuff. So I've given mine, Rocco. Continue on.
Okay, so Zeb, what did you say? I'm writing this down just so you know. I am like documenting all this. So
I said that Wayland won't be NVIDIA friendly in 2018.
No, oh yeah, that's right.
Nice, easy win.
I'm not sure it's AMD friendly either.
Works fine for me.
Okay, so Zeb is.
I have occasional crashes, not a lot. But...
It's interesting.
Well, AMD's not Linux friendly yet. Yeah.
Okay, touche. my dedicated AMD graphics card, I don't have any problems on Cinnamon. My APU,
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know how their APUs are.
Joe, what is your prediction?
I'm going to stick with distro stuff instead of all the other.
You stick with whatever you want to, man. What's your prediction?
I'll tell you what. I was very conflicted, and you know what's funny is I didn't mention this last week, but for whatever reason I decided to look at my disk setup, and I noticed that my Ubuntu Mate's got a 40 gig swap set up on here, and I'm like, where did that come from? So and I kept looking at Peppermint, I kept jumping back, and I actually threw MX17 on the test laptop, and I'm liking it.
Yeah, man.
And
where it's at.
I'm like right here between Peppermint and MX17, and I think my prediction is going to be I'm going to be on one of those two sometime next year.
So you're going to be on Peppermint or what?
Either that or MX17. I like my Mate. I'm just so used to it, but I'm getting that distro hop bug for some reason. I wanted to get to the point where I wasn't going to hop anything, but I have to give a little bit of credit to Zeb, and even English Bob falls in love every other week with something different. But Zeb has really got me convinced to look harder at it, and I've been doing that.
Oh, Ryan's saying it means nothing, but Zeb says it and it matters suddenly.
Well,
I've had enough of this Zeb fan club crap up here.
Is somebody talking, Joe?
Right now, I had it on here for a while, but like Ubuntu, I was having multi-monitor issues when you first load it up, where it would show one background on here, and Mate did the same thing for a while there, and it was always a lot of extra tweaking just to get it to run natively out of the box the way it should be without changing anything. So that's why I kind of took it off, and the thing I like about Mate is there's a lot of customization that I like to do and stuff like that, but I do like where Peppermint's going. But after looking at MX17, I'm going to have to play with it a little longer. I put it on there and I wanted to run it. I didn't have quite a week on it yet, so I need to work on it a little bit more. But it's going to be one of those two. I think if I'm going to hop this upcoming year, it's going to be one of those two. But I will definitely. I've still got it native on the laptop. I won't change it out of there. I'm loving it. But I think that comparing those two to Solus, I love a lot of things about Solus. But again, working in their terminal, like you guys are discussing too, there's still things that it's falling short on. I don't know if they'll still by next year get up there with it. I think they're going to be an up-and-comer too and give everything a run. But if you want something light, quick, and still customizable, it's got to be between one of those two. And I got to look a little harder at them. So that's going to be my thing. I think you're going to see them. distro watch, forget about it. You know, I agree with Michael.
We kind of did.
Yeah, we don't worry about that.
No, what I'm saying though is I think Mint is always going to be Mint. It seems like no matter where you go on YouTube, you always hear about Mint because I think it's the most familiar and popular name out there. Ubuntu, just like Ubuntu. But I think Peppermint is really gaining ground, and if MX17 or the MX Linux keeps going the way it is, I think you're going to see a battle going on between those two. That's just my thoughts.
I agree. I mean, I run Peppermint on one of my writing computers, and Peppermint is absolutely awesome. If I had to go and do it over again, it would either be Peppermint or MX. I'm really impressed with MX. I'm thinking of running it on my media computer for a couple weeks.
I wish Dolphin would hear this. He's so excited when he hears people talking about MX, and so many people recently have just been giving it so much love.
Well, I always rub on English Bob a little bit about it because I think we all do, because you gotta let, I love him, and yet it's like, I think this is the longest, now correct me if I'm wrong, Zeb, this is probably the longest he's been stuck on a distro for a while. So there's something.
What's he on now?
He's on Peppermint 8.
Oh, he's on Peppermint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went with Peppermint because of English Bob. Yeah.
Did somebody say respin? That's not
And the
allowed.
one he was,
I had Peppermint
foul.
on a different machine. And with a 1 terabyte, I mentioned this a long time ago, a Dell Inspiron, which I now have. I still have Mint Mate 17, I think 17.3 on that one as an HTPC. But when I had Peppermint 6 on that thing started up as fast as my SSDs. It was really amazing on that machine when it did. So and the thing that's neat about that distro is, old or new, it seems to run the same.
And the only distro he was on longer was Peppermint 6.
Yeah.
So Zeb, Anna in chat says Zeb is the man. He uses XFCE, which makes him the smartest man in the stream. Now, I know I'm the XFCE king.
Oh my gosh! Are you trying to take the smartest man in the stream crown, or what?
No.
Crown for
No.
Wait a minute. When
Ryan, you got no leg to stand on right now.
For using XFCE.
Ryan, you got no leg to stand on right now. You're an i3 user.
Yeah, I thought you were an intelligent i3 user.
Listen, I can
I
use
thought you were using an
Unlike any
adult.
of you plebs on here, I can actually figure it out.
I thought you were using an adult desktop environment now.
That's right. It's a desktop for people who can read.
I would use XFCE if it actually worked. I would.
Well, you know why they call it i3? Because the average i3 user can only count to 3.
Right.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So okay, so I've tried Ubuntu. I've tried. I haven't tried Peppermint lately, but I've tried other ones like MX and Linux Mint XFCE, and every single one of them has trouble with dual monitors for me. Every single
XFCE.
Neon does not.
As I sit
love
here with
Neon
3
for it.
monitors. It's just you, Rocco.
It's only me.
Yeah.
It's just me. It's
just you, man.
If there's a problem, I'll find it. Right.
I've run Peppermint on 4 monitors before, and it's fine.
Peppermint, by the way,
everybody's
I've
run
been using
everything
for a couple of weeks now on one of my laptops, and it's as great as I remember it ever being. It is absolutely beautiful and solid, and I really can't find a complaint about it.
And before Solus, it would be what I'm running right now. Before I had installed Solus, Ubuntu would be what I'm running, or MX. If I could have got the dual monitor thing working, but I can't.
Yeah.
Are you on Solus right now?
Yes, I am.
That's awesome.
Which one?
Budgie.
Yeah, boy. So Rocco, question: did you try hooking up your main monitor only first, and then while everything was running, hooking in your other monitors?
No, but should I have to do that?
No, but that seems to be a thing with HDMI and.
Yeah, I know. I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
Who uses HDMI?
I'm very frustrated with
video.
XFCE that it
VGA
wouldn't run.
or DVI.
Yeah, that's
well, originally, Scrap, I thought it was the fact that the one monitor was hooked up to an HDMI, the other one was VGA. And I didn't know if it was picking up maybe one connection before the other one.
Yes.
And
It will pick up VGA first.
Yeah, I didn't
right.
know that.
So that's why I got 2 HDMI cables and put them in exactly into the video card, and it still did the same thing. So then I figured, well, maybe the inputs on the video card itself is picking up the first one or the second one first, and I switched them, and it still picks up the monitor.
You definitely tricky. The entire time of hearing the story that you use VGA. What do you have, a CRT monitor? Is it black?
Yeah, it's a 17-inch CRT sitting there. Come on, man.
He's got one of those
Trinitron.
He's got one of those old Mac monitors, those the big the Fruity Pebbles looking things.
The clear plastic tops. And,
But it's funny because I can
figured out your problem. XFC is not good for CRT monitors.
But it's fine because I can run Solus and not have a problem.
He's over there playing Pong on a CRT.
You know, I would love to have a mini CRT that has that green hue to it, just in a TTY, just over there, like something out of Fallout. It would be the bomb to have, just a mini one.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't there a terminal emulator that
is
that does it?
No, you got to run just a TTY on it. That way you get it naturally, and you can just bask in the glow.
Yeah, well, no. So the ultimate distro of the year, Solus, does not have any trouble with the monitors.
Ultimate. That's awesome.
Just saying.
Yeah. I have been dabbling in the Solus.
All right, so
back to the predictions.
Matt, what's your prediction for 2018?
Controversial.
It doesn't matter.
I think the definition of what the Linux desktop is going to end up changing.
To what?
Based on form factors.
Like,
because
well, you have to give me an example so we can check to see if it actually came true or not.
Chromebooks, as an example, you have the 2-in-1s, you have hybrids, you have, if you want to debate whether or not Android is Linux, yada yada yada. The form factor and what we consider a desktop is no longer a desk with a tower and a monitor and a mouse and a keyboard.
I mean, a laptop already counts that.
Yeah. But like I said, form factors are going to.
So do you think it's going to be like a tablet? Tablets are going to become big in Linux, or do you think it's just any form factor outside of your normal desktop they're going to expand into?
I think what it is like the 2-in-1s, like the Yogas and that kind of stuff will be what we consider like traditional desktop Linux is what I'm saying. Is going to be
if we
different.
Could get someone to either make a device like the Surface Book or like support for it that isn't complete garbage, I think we'd be better off too.
By the way, the Surface Book runs Linux beautifully.
It does.
Yeah,
it does. But the hinge sometimes it gets I've seen like a bunch of forum posts about when disconnecting the hinge, it can crash. Yeah.
Well, the current form factor on many desktops, anytime I go to people's house, especially now at holidays, they've been the all-in-ones on their desktop anyway. So you go to a pawn shop somewhere to pick up a monitor. It's like, oh, there's a nice big monitor. No, it's an all-in-one.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the dongle life for you.
Dongle life.
I think what a lot of it is like a lot of like desktop Linux users are so stuck in this like rigid mindset of what desktop Linux is. And I think this year is going to be a year where we end up seeing that slowly change.
That a little bit goes into the Electron argument, right? I mean, I really think Electron is more the future than something that's just going to add a couple applications. I think more and more software is going to become distributed in that type of manner. And whether Windows or not, I mean, Windows is already looking, first of all, from a console perspective, they tried very difficult to completely remove disks and everything. They wanted a completely console or a cloud-based console for game distribution. Very similar to what Steam has, but people freaked out when they were doing that and didn't want it just yet. So I think, Electron is a very similar platform in that everybody thinks in Linux. They want their software installed on their machine. They don't want anything touching the cloud, but I think that's just short-sighted because the world's going to be moving towards that type of platform and away from this individual hardware. Not that it will go away, but it's going to be more of a niche thing than a standard in everybody's home. They're probably just going to have monitor interfaces and keyboards versus, big giant desktop computers.
The gaming thing, though, is that people lost their minds for what they were doing is because they were trying to restrict where the games could play. So if you put it in you use their framework, you could only run it on Windows and nowhere else.
Yeah.
So there was like, we're not going to use your framework if you're going to lock us in, kind of thing.
See, now another thing I heard kind of along those lines is Windows going to a subscription service, so paying yearly for Windows as a subscription, like Office 365. And I heard they're starting that next year. That is so good for Linux, is it not? I mean, that's the best news ever, I think, for helping build Linux's market there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it could go both ways. I don't think a lot of people will care, to be honest with you.
I think a lot of people will care.
Yep.
I don't think Linux the community really will be ready to embrace that change. And
they're never ready to embrace that change.
Every single year, every time it's happened.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is I think that people that would care if it was changing to a subscription have already gone away from Windows.
No, I disagree because they don't ever pay for it. They buy the computer and Windows comes with the computer. That's right. They don't even see it as a price. They see it as a part of the product.
And everything I heard about Windows 10 is Windows is amazing. They're giving it to us for free. They didn't understand what was going on behind the scenes. Number one, obviously it was to their best interest to try to get a mass migration similar to how Apple's so successful in that into moving everybody into their latest platform so that they could get them to their software store to control where they're getting their software and things from. But number two with that is it was important for Microsoft to also make it, because I had to do this several times, when you take out your hard drive or whatever else, or not a hard drive, your motherboard or any major component, with that free Windows license went out the door. Now, some people said they hadn't get it flagged, but I've gotten flagged twice with Windows computers where I've changed the motherboard and it tells me you got to rebuy a license. Even called Microsoft down a support line. Once you change a major component, you have to rebuy that license. Now, if you go to a yearly subscription thing, like Michael said, people are used to just buying a computer. 90% of your people walk into a Walmart, walk out with a pre-configured computer with Windows on it. Now, every single year, you're going to be paying $99 a month. Plus, now you got to pay that $69 or $99 a month for Office 365 plus. So all this is starting to add up to the point where they're going to start looking for open source solutions naturally. And once you start looking for an open source, you're going to start running into Linux users all day long. And I'm not saying
that you're not going to have people that are not going to be upset about it. And I'm not saying that you're not going to have people look for alternatives. What I'm saying is the majority of people, to me, are not going to care because everything that you do today is starting to go to a subscription.
Yep.
So it's kind of like you're conditioned. You're conditioned to see this, like whether it be Netflix, whether it be your TV, whatever it may be. You're everywhere you're going, you're buying a subscription, and I think people are it's just conditioned for that. And I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal as we'd like it to be. I would love for it to be a big deal, and I would love for to see a mass exodus from Windows happen because of it. I just don't see it happening.
What people are missing is that while the industries are all trying to move to this monthly thing, I mean, I make a good living, but the monthly thing is something now that has overburdened even myself and other people that I know that also make great livings, because everybody, like you said, wants this monthly thing. So now what's happening? I'm going through and I'm cutting all of the stuff massively. Yeah. And I think other people are as well, meaning it's gotten to the point where even somebody making a great living can't afford all the monthlies that people want. Windows coming in and do so things are going to get cut.
Yeah, but things are going to. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're going to cut things, but you're not going to cut something that's important as your computer.
Yeah, just like you're not going to cut your mobile phone.
You don't have to.
No, I don't agree with that because there's going to be a select few. I think what's going to happen is the people that aren't going to care are the ones that are going to be the minority, because you get elderly people who just want to get on and use the internet, or write a paper, or a kid, excuse me, or
just give them XFCE
who don't necessarily care about specific uses with things, which are probably the brunt of the people are going into the big box stores or Best Buys or whatever and buying them off the shelf with this on there. They are going to care, especially if you have fixed income. I'm going to give you another analogy. Why? Because it's just like what Ryan's saying. Eventually, these subscriptions add up. And an example comparing to the real estate market, I've seen just with gas prices alone, with my wife, with what she deals with here, where if gas prices go up 50 cents or whatever it is in pricing, you will see young people who are going to buy a house hold off, because now the amount of money that adds to their commute or whatever, or that put them out of the affordability range. And
Yes,
that's going to be the same thing with this. When it comes to a computer, they're going to either look at, if it's not Linux, they're going to look at another device or look at something different that they can do the same thing on.
They're going to walk into a Best Buy. Best Buy is going to show them a computer and go, hey, by the way, this is $99 a year for Windows 10. Or you could get a Chromebook over here and have no cost at all for your operating system. Even though Chrome is not what we hope for as Linux, it's one step closer to taking out Microsoft as a monopoly. Not that I hate Microsoft, but they need some real competition in there so that they stop making the terrible decisions that they're continuing to make.
And maybe that's where, when I mentioned last week, which is pretty much what Tom was reiterating, what Tom was saying, is that maybe we'll start seeing more of these on the shelf, which would put us back, you know, a little heavier in the marketplace. Because right now, the desktop is the one area that Linux is trailing yet. I mean, it's come a long way, but it's still trailing. Yet most people don't realize that they use Linux every day in some form or another, whether they're listening to their radio station or the cars they drive or whatever. We've said that over and over again. But a lot of people don't realize how big Linux really already is. It's just the desktop area, it seems brand new, because it's just now really starting to make a place for itself.
Right. We should make T-shirts for that.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Everything you're saying, Joe, is correct as far as getting bigger and everything, and nobody realizing how much they use it. That's all correct. But that's all stuff that me and you know. Right. Everybody in this room knows. I'm talking the average user who doesn't even care about where their computer comes from.
I think they only care about money.
But see, that's why I said what I did, Rocco, because as you know, I have a computer, business, and I get the same common question or statements from people that say, all I want to do is go on and check my email or go look at Facebook or whatever. Yep. Now, the only time that Linux will have a bit of a hiccup is if there's an app that I'm not familiar with that they need to have it loaded on versus a cloud-based, and they can't run it on there. And it's like everything else. We all have at least one thing you can't run on there. And if it gets to the point where they have to pay for the operating system and then pay for Office, a lot of people still don't understand what LibreOffice is. They just, so I think it's what we do here and the education that gets out there. I think one of the things I said this last week that we hurt ourselves is we analyze it in a much more fair way, that we talk about and honesty about the things that are wrong with it. But I think sometimes we do that a little too much instead of talking more about the positive side of it. And that's the difference between the PC side or even Apple. Now, the Mac stuff, they're shooting themselves in the foot with a lot of the upgrades they're doing.
Or have a battery.
Computer get bricked twice when they did the High Sierra upgrades and whatever. So those are the things that actually help our cause. But you don't see, think about it. If you were to go do a search on YouTube right now, there's a lot of people talking about how you could tweak Windows and what you could do here. Now, if you remember right, when Windows 10 came out and they were pushing it and forcing it and screwing everything up, you saw nothing but videos out there, people just crushing it. But now that's slowly changing. Now it's the positive swings on what you can do with it, how you can tweak it, how you can make it, and this works great. But yet, how many Mac, really, YouTube videos do you see where they talk about Macs in that light too? So
well, look, here's the thing. Everybody will end up having their own opinion on it. All I'm saying is I think people will look at it as just like when they raise the gas prices. Everybody complains about it. Everybody whines about it. But what can you do about it? And you just incorporate that in your weekly whatever expenses. So maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe there'll be
in the car industry when that happened, when the gas prices went out. You could get an SUV. For instance, my wife at the time picked up a pickup truck for $25,000 that you could not go to any dealership today and get for any less than $38,000. But during those gas crises, they couldn't get rid of trucks. So, I mean, it had an impact. It had an impact on the market. I think the biggest risk...
I'm not talking about having an impact on the market, though. I'm talking about the plain fact of spending the money for the gasoline or spending the money
they changed
for
their
for
habits
the operating system.
And that's what I think
they're
still
but they're still going to spend the money because there's really not a whole lot they can do about it.
Or they're not going to spend the money, and they're going to, and then they won't get upgrades, whatever, and most people don't even care.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how many people?
If you're using gas price as an example, what happened when it hit $4 a gallon?
I didn't go very far.
Wednesday, everybody stayed home. They had a national boycott. People stayed home because they said that there was a supply shortage. All of a sudden, it created this
people didn't
access. And what it was is it sent a message that, hey, we're not paying this, and all of a sudden it dropped down to below $2 a gallon. Now it was doing this, and you're right. It does this for a while. It tests the waters until it finds a sweet spot where people are willing to pay. And you're right, Rocco. There are going to be people that aren't going to care, but I think the larger masses of people who use a computer every day, and it's not for their work specifically, and it's not for like the things that you're doing for video editing or that kind of thing. That's a larger number, and those people are going to care. And I think that's where we're going to have the advantage to come in and start educating. And
especially if they have more than one. Wait a second. If they have more than one computer at home, they have a computer, and their kids have computers, whatever, and they're going to have to spend that, $99 a year or $10 a month or whatever it is per unit.
You just get the family subscription. It's fine.
Huh?
Yeah, it's exactly right.
See?
Yeah. I think it will have an impact, but I think the biggest risk to the Linux community is itself. If it was not for certain people who came to my channel who
we're a bunch of jerks.
Well, no, I think for the most part, actually, most of the Linux people are extraordinarily nice. But there are enough jerks that exist out there that I think that could drive somebody immediately away. Meaning, when I was playing with Linux and doing the 30 days thing, had it not been for people who came in and were like, hey, you got that completely wrong, but in a nice way, let me show you how to do this right. And they were so excited about it that it made me continue exploring, versus the opposite of read the manual, you idiot, or whatever, that people kind of come across.
There's a man page for a reason, jerk.
Yeah, like go read the manual. Look at the man pages. Well, when you first get into Linux, you don't even know what that is. You're just clicking around in the GUI,
and then half the man pages aren't even written.
Right. So I think people at Linux need to remember that when they started at Linux, they were stupid. When they started at Linux, they didn't know the differences in how to use a terminal and all this, because a lot of people, not a lot, there are some
I was
people
raised by penguins
who are elitists in it and act like, well, you've got to be at this certain level to even talk about it. And those are the people that I think, as content creators, which a lot of us are, we have to be very, I've taken the position that those type of people who are on my channel, I absolutely destroy them because I have no patience for it. I no longer just like, oh, well, nice opinion and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, you're a moron. Get off my channel. You can't feed the trolls, basically.
Going back to what Barb said, what'll happen is if you have multiple machines, they're going to do like what I just did here. You're going to pick the machine that you have to have Windows on to do that certain task, and the rest of them are going to be some other alternative, whether it's
or they just won't update it from when they bought it.
Right, and that's why
the other problem.
XP users out there, and until they get in trouble with something, they don't care.
The other option too,
they were still using XP on most of the machines.
The other option too is when people buy computers at the store, whether they finance them or whatever, they may end up incorporating that in.
Financing
for a certain amount of time, like say 3 years or whatever.
Yeah, you get a 3-year Microsoft.
You're right.
Windows
so I don't think it'll. Okay, we'll leave it because everybody has.
Well, I guess that's opinions. Our prediction, right? Roger?
Yeah. That. Well, I don't know whose prediction that was because that was not anybody's prediction. We just got off on a tangent.
I spent a little bit of time looking into that, and I have not found any indication that they're going to be doing that on home users. The only indication I'm seeing that they're looking at a potential subscription model is on the enterprise level.
That's all
probably that on the pro versions of Windows
and things like that. But let's just assume for a moment that does happen, because this is one of the reasons I switched over to Linux is because of that and the privacy stuff. The biggest challenge I think that we're going to get, where the people Rocco's talking about, is there's just a whole ton of people. Like, look at the reason we're getting so many spam calls and so many spam emails is because there are people stupid enough to click on the button and pay these people money. And if a little window pops up that says pay $100, whether it's legitimate or not, a large portion of people pay the $100, whether it's Microsoft or someone else. And so we have that issue.
Yeah, and there are more people like that than you think. I have a friend who did that. She saw some message popped up on her computer.
Oh God, what was it? The fake blue screen to death?
No, it was it was one of these like your computer. We can fine tune your computer, and so instead of her calling me or calling somebody else, she goes, "Oh, there's a problem. There's a problem." And this is an intelligent woman, a highly educated person, a person who uses computers, but she saw that message pop up, that window pop up. She clicked on it, and she lost $400 basically.
Did it
for
fix
a year's
the problem?
worth of support?
Nope.
I don't think it fixed. That's my prediction. I don't think it fixed the problem.
No, it didn't fix the problem. Then she had to take the computer in because she works at the university and have them fix it.
But I said months ago about this where I was suspicious that the Windows OS would become a subscription and the reason why I said that was because why would they put an expiration date of 2025 on it? If it's truly an endless OS, why is there an expiration date on it at all?
Because I think that's trademarked.
I think that it's going to go subscriction eventually, and maybe I'm wrong. And like you said,
copyrighted,
maybe it gets built in somehow,
and trademark.
Always tend to manage. People are creatures of habit. Where if they could pay something over time and they're not taking that money out of their pocket all at one lump sum, that's why cars cost what they do. And instead of a 2 or 3 year loan, you're doing 7-year loans now because you can't afford to pay for them.
Oh my goodness, could you imagine pay to use cars? Like you couldn't buy a car, you had to get a subscription for it to work.
There's an
actually people are looking at that right now.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what my monthly
that's my car payment, dude.
Cadillac had one of those services, and who was the other one? Cadillac was one, and it was Lexus. It's like, and the Cadillac was like $5,000-$10,000 a month or something. It was insane.
And at the end of 3 years, you have nothing. Not even you can't even buy it.
Yeah, you have nothing. It's worse. It's literally worse than leasing. But people keep leasing, even though it's the most expensive way to buy a car. They keep financing, which is still very expensive to buy a car. I mean,
if you pay anything more than 15% above what the car is worth, I think you've done it. You've just done it.
I think I paid $6,000 for my car in 2009, and I haven't had to put anything into it since.
Yeah, but think about the way cars are going now. My truck runs basically on a Linux system, and it's a Chrysler product. It had to have that patch done because Chrysler wouldn't listen to anybody, and then all of a sudden these white hat hackers put out that YouTube video about it and disabled stuff and whatever. And Illinois is talking about charging people by the mile to drive their roads, and guess how they're doing that? Through the satellite, which goes right through your system, which is out.
Actually, Oregon already has that service in place as well, and they're selling it as kind of like a feature to have green, so that people having green cars can pay their fair share. Like, excuse me.
You know this, Rocco, I'm trying to keep it Linux related because my truck runs out.
Right. Okay. So let's keep it Linux related and stick to the predictions. So I just wrote that down as a random prediction of whoever that there's going to be.
My prediction:
mass exodus from Microsoft.
Still going to suck. I have been attempting to install Elementary the entire time I've been on this stream. I have had to restart it 4 times, and it still just keeps on freezing. It says it's still retrieving files, so I'm going to let it go. Like, I've given Elementary enough crap. I want to actually run it for a while.
That might not be an Elementary problem, like specifically if it's like an installer issue, because for the most part, that's like Ubuntu.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is I'm watching everything, and it can't retrieve Elementary PPAs and other stuff.
So the repo might be down.
Yeah, that sounds like
I don't know. It might be, but I've always had problems like this.
Really?
Okay, let's continue on.
I've never had Elementary working well, but I'm going to give it a try. I will get it working, and I will give it a try so I can give it my fair shake at life. I was very kind. I was very kind with Solus GNOME, even though I hated it. I'm going to give this one its fair shake as well.
Chicken, what is your prediction?
Well, I think Simon's gonna kill me, but it has to do with Snap. Yeah, I'm not throwing you under the bus, dude. I swear. I think snaps are going to really take off, especially with the LTS coming up. I think we're going to see,
but
if not more, inclusion.
He's
the way
having a meltdown over there.
Ubuntu Mate. The way Ubuntu Mate is shipped to Snap by default, I think in 1804 we're either going to see more of that specifically in Ubuntu Mate, but we're also going to see more of that in other flavors or even base Ubuntu itself. And I think it's going to get much more adoption on more platforms, and we're going to see an actual like thriving ecosystem. And not that it's not growing right now, but I think it's going to be much more commonplace than it is right now, and it's going to take off.
Wheels on the bus go round.
So,
well, that's what I had said. One of my predictions was there was going to be a Snap-based operating system, like either a current one or a created distro that is just based solely on snaps.
Well, if we're gonna do that, can we do it to like one of the garbage distros, like Kronos? Just so we can see how it works.
So what's Simon's problem with snaps, though? I've never heard this.
I don't see them working. I just don't see snaps working.
But why, Simon? Tell us why.
Because
not needed.
Give me a good reason why they're not going to work well. And I'm serious. I want to know what would be the good reason that they're not going to work well.
Like, I don't see them working in the sense of I'm going to build my distribution off of snaps, because they're meant for little things like the Raspberry Pi. They're meant for little things like that. You know, they're meant to stick someplace and you just keep it there. But I guess I have problems with the fundamental design of snaps and the way that they were, you know, the way that the concept is, and that you know, it takes up all the loopback devices and it keeps a copy of every single provision of the snap on the computer, taking up disk space, taking up, you know, a bunch of different things. And so in a technical aspect, you know, that doesn't work. There's also the aspect of if you're trying to ship anything but a rolling distribution and you have a packaging format that's different from the base packaging format, or if it's in a way that it's like snaps, I guess I worry about upstream pushing something that isn't compatible with the rest of the software. Like, you have no way to fix that in the sense that you do with distribution level stuff. So let's say I ship a snap by default in like Ubuntu, and like the day before release they ship an update to that snap that completely breaks everything. Well, I have no way to fix that, even though I have upload access to the Ubuntu archive, because it's out of my control, because it's a completely different ecosystem than what
Are you saying the snap itself would break Ubuntu, or are you saying the snap itself would break?
I'm saying the snap itself would break, but if it's a core piece of software and that it's, you know, fundamental to the user experience, then if it breaks,
break the OS. Yeah.
But that's not what snaps are for. That's
not what snaps are for, but that's what snaps are trying to be used for.
No, they're not.
That's the problem I have with that.
Snaps cannot break the system. Like I'm
not saying that. I'm saying if you have a user interface and you have several applications that user interface is sort of revolves around, like, you know, the software that's shipped by default, if that completely breaks on its own and there's no way to fix that, like let's say upstream, you know, you don't have good communication.
There's a way to fix that.
Then, you know,
snaps can automatically roll back. If they break, they automatically roll back to where they didn't break, and they send a message to
I guess I personally look at the what ifs of it. You know, breaking, like in what way would it have to break for it to be rolled back?
If it breaks at all, automatically it rolls back. And
breaks at all mean like in what definition of breaking?
Not working to his intent, whatever that might be.
Yeah, but what if, for instance, you know, the
wait, who's talking?
Of it makes it from not work. The theming of
that's not working.
You can't see the text
working,
but you can't use it because you can't see the text. It's happening like Kden Live or something like that, where the theming basically creates it so you can't see any text and it's unusable. But the snap's not going to roll back, right?
Right, because that's the theming issue is not working.
Don't use the whole like. Don't use that literally. I'm just saying, like, something simple like that would keep a user from being able to effectively
How's this for an
utilize
example? I have found lately, now this isn't a snap issue, but I found lately that on my Linux Mint KDE computer, Skype does not work anymore. They killed the version that worked. They forced me to upgrade the latest one, and I get perpetual connectivity issues. I cannot use this computer with Skype. I have to roll back to Debian, which is all the same stuff. Yeah. But there are versions I have used. I don't know if it was Skype or Snap or Flat Package where I've used it. If Skype gets, in that case, a connectivity issue, it looks like it's working, but it's not because it can't get a connectivity issue. Is that going to roll back?
Have you tried the Electron version of Skype?
That's the only one there is.
Ah, right.
Is that might be correct. I thought there was another one, but I think you are correct, Michael.
They killed it like 3 months ago.
So when you say it's going to roll back, are you talking automatically or are you talking user intervention?
Depending on what it is. If it's a visual thing that it's technically working, but it's not visually working, you can roll back manually. If it's an actual breakpoint where the code breaks the snap and it doesn't run, then it automatically rolls back to the previous version.
It automatically rolls back.
Someone
That's actually
brought
a pretty
up
nice feature.
Live,
yeah,
and that like text not being visible with a theme or something. Well, I'm pretty sure with Ubuntu Mate, the default theme, Kden Live, has some pretty glaring issues.
I think that's where I may have seen it. It's actually an issue I've run into before and it was newer in my Linux thing. Now I could probably try to force a different theme into it. In fact, I think Kden Live now has options to change the theme within it. I don't know if
that's cool.
Kden Live Snap is not maintained by Kden Live. Yeah. That's the issue there. But Kden Live offers an app image, which has perfect fine.
Simon has an interesting point there. I mean, there are some, I think, quirks that need to be worked out. I would disagree that snaps aren't going to take off and are not going to be usable. I think more work needs to probably happen to work out some of those bugs, but it seems like snaps are a very popular.
Yeah, my giraffe.
Popular and extraordinarily useful in many ways.
But
I think that's
hold on. Can I just make a point for a minute here? I think that they could work. They could work, but I guess I always think of if it's a separate ecosystem with different people than the normal people, that have access to publish updates to these snap packages. I guess in my mind goes to Murphy's Law. What can go wrong will go wrong, and I guess I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, but that's also what people said about Linux when it was first created, and
But it's I guess I look at it as you're introducing a whole different ecosystem.
Well, I think they have to. Something has to change. I think a lot of the software stores and distribution. I mean, for instance, I was showing off in Arch when I was doing a video about myths about Linux, and one of the myths was, installing software is difficult. It takes just a second in Arch to install anything you want, utilizing the software store. But there are a lot of things broken within the software stores that just don't, especially if you're on an Ubuntu-based distribution. They're constantly running into issues with software stores, stuff broken. Ultimately, is it still better than what's out there with some of the other stuff? Sure, because it's all free and you have limited expectations on that type of thing. But it's just, I think something has to happen with the software distribution. I think from a developer standpoint, it's extremely limiting to try to write for 60,000 different distros that are out there. And you have to have a solution that allows people to be able to use things like on Solus, for instance, what we're talking about. Amazing distro. Everybody here would probably run it or at least love it. But what is the limiting factor? You can't install certain software on it. That's a limitation that's a killer, right?
But they go out of their way, though, now.
Use Solus, and then they go, but I want to use Lightworks. And I'm like, well, sorry, you're gonna have to do some massive terminal work or workarounds. That's a killer there. But if you had it in a snap, that problem's gone, right?
Yeah.
And that changes. That's why it's such an important. I don't know that snap is the answer, but that's why it's such an important thing that we move towards and not try to hesitate on, because it could really change the game for Linux in what I consider personally the weakest area of Linux, which is software distribution capabilities.
I agree. I think snaps are actually not. I think fundamentally, functionally, conceptually, snaps are awesome. They still need to work on it, but I think that what they're trying to do is quite awesome. And the most thing that people are kind of misconstruing is that it's not supposed to be all that snaps are all the whole distro. It's just supposed to be sitting on top of whatever the distro is built on. That's its purpose. So I have a question for you, Rocco, about your prediction.
Yep.
Is your prediction that a distro will be made in 2018 that will be just snappy, or is that a distro will just exist that is snappy?
Either a current distro will switch over to all snaps, or a new distro will be made.
Is it all snaps only, or both? If they have two different versions.
Oh, you mean would they have a regular version? I don't really think it matters whether they have a regular version. Somebody will have a all snap version.
You're saying like all snap, but not for the core, like all the basic.
Meaning when you go into the software store, all you're going to see is snaps, but it could be based on Debian, and you could go into the terminal and install something else. As far as the software distribution, they will solely have snaps. Is that what you're saying, Rocco?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they're going to do the whole thing snaps.
Top to bottom. He's talking top to bottom.
One more clarification. We can call it module Linux.
Yep.
One more clarification. Is it not a canonical made thing?
Doesn't matter.
All right.
Notice how you voice the question.
Then you can guarantee.
I don't think it. Right. I don't think it matters. I mean,
he just said he guarantees you're right. I don't think Michael's ever said that before to anybody.
No, I mean, I don't think it matters. I think, and I'm not saying that it's the right way to go about doing it either. I mean, it may.
You're just saying it's going to happen.
Yeah, I may be totally wrong to build a whole system on snaps. I just think it's possible, and I think somebody will end up doing it. I mean,
somebody has to try it.
Yeah, I mean, even Ike has mentioned the fact that certain, like, it's basically a mini Solus running in the snap Steam thing he made. Okay, so I think it's possible, and I think that somebody will end up trying it and that's one of my predictions.
Hey, that solves all of our distro hopping problems. If you run a snap made from every system, you can be running all the distros at once.
Well, I mean, everything will be basically
sudo snap install Arch.
Everything will be containerized, so you won't have issues, and they can push out the updates that way. You basically can. I mean, if it's possible to do that, the core operating system. I'm not technical enough to know whether that's possible or not, but it's other people are. So
you're back.
It's definitely possible.
All right. Some more predictions.
Yeah. So Scrap, what's your prediction for 2018?
He's going to have a YouTube channel.
With actual content, you mean?
Well, all of 2017, I have struggled with my voice because I hadn't been singing since 2012-ish because I had a collapsed lung. A couple weeks ago in rehearsal, some of the guys were like, hey, this song or that song? I was like, well, I ain't hit that in a long time. Something in the muscle memory came back, and I found my voice again. So I've been doing a lot of stuff with family and things and holidays, and so in the next weeks I'll be doing live streams, just me and the guitar, maybe some of my buddies from the band or whatever. So that's going to start getting my face on my channel, and then the tutorial stuff will come with that.
And if you're interested in seeing his channel or signing up now, go to tuxdigital.com/SJ
Studios.
SJ Studios. There you go.
That's amazing.
So that's not really a prediction, but that's going to happen. So, but my prediction is that I think this year, since we have had a lot of really awesome progress with different distros in the last year, and a lot of unifying of a lot of people that are really good at doing what they do, as far as Solus and the Mate guys, and just even elementaries in that mix. And I think we're all going to start I think our personal goal here amongst us should be to get as close to using the same stuff as possible, just for the sake of saying, okay, can we all go to one place? Can we all get there at some point and find what works for the majority of what we do? Because when people are going to come in over from either their Mac or their Windows, they're going to be looking for people that they're going to be looking for stuff that's similar. Like if I pull up my phone, it looks like an Android phone. I hand it to somebody that has an Android phone. They're like, okay, I can do things with it. But when you go to Linux, it's like, I got 5 different desktops. You know, somebody comes over to my place, it's like, I got a Linux thing. How do I do it on yours? And then I've got KDE and they've got XFCE. And it's like, okay. Or things are in different places. I think we need to get some of that unified, because if people are coming over, they're going to want stuff that's samey.
I think it's a good prediction, but I don't think you'll ever get anybody to agree on which one to go with.
So, Solus, clearly.
And then who would be the people actually saying this is what we're going to do with? Go
me.
with.
I'll lead you guys.
Exactly my point. Everybody said me.
I'll lead you to the promised land.
Here's a thought though on that is in Linux Mint 18.3 in the software center now, there are a lot more of the apps that your traditional Windows users are looking for, like Skype is there, like Spotify's there, and Dropbox is there. You have a lot of those things in a very similar interface to Windows, quite honestly. That's why one of the reasons I like it. It's just an interface that's familiar to me. But we need to have those apps available for people because, well, I don't use them personally. You know, somebody who's used to using Dropbox and Spotify and Google Docs and whatever else, the fact they are there is a lot. It decreases the resistance to move over.
See, I think what you just pointed out, though, Tom, and what Scrap's saying too. I don't think everybody coming together on a specific distro is ever going to. That's one of the beauties of Linux is you have the choice of doing whatever you want.
Yeah.
What would be nice is if they were all more consistent and maybe were, like you said, whether it's snaps or app images or whatever, where you could pull everything out of the same place, maybe get the same kind of actual working environment and make it work that way, because everybody has different tastes. The other thing too, I commented on another, it's a young guy, just was looked at a show today. It's a newer guy. Anyway, he's talking Linux, and I raised a point on there. I said, because a Linux distro may not seem to work on your computer, does not necessarily mean the distro is bad. It may very well mean that it just doesn't work. That particular distro doesn't work as well with the particular hardware you have. And that's a lot of the conversations that we have. Yep. And I think that's why it's going to be pretty challenging to try to bring, a long time ago, one of you had said, God, I wish there was just maybe one distro or two instead of all of these out there, because, then you'd have everybody working on just, maybe it was Michael that said, I don't remember, but, that you'd have this all the energy put into just one place to try to make it its best. Well, obviously that's not going to happen. So maybe the other alternatives, like I said, is the things that enhance the distros, like the snaps, like the app images, the software centers, whatever, if they can become more consistent so that potentially all the distros would work at least similarly, yet you still have your own flavor. Does that make sense? I mean,
it does, Joe, but I think you're going to have the same problem that you have with the distros. That you're going to have the people behind everything are, I want to do snaps, I want to do flat packs, I want to do this, I want to do PPAs. It's the same argument, only in a different sense.
Except snaps have Canonical's massive market share and mind share that companies that you would never expect to make a Linux app have already done so.
You mean like Spotify?
No, because they already had one for a very long time. But in the same vein,
they
like
put it
them,
into
yes.
a snap is what they're saying.
There's been, like, for example, there's even been applications who created stuff for the purpose of running on Linux who abandoned everything and said, "Oh, we're using snaps now." And, like, for example, Rocket Chat did that. So, like, you can build it yourself if you want, but by default, here's a snap.
That's cool.
So, like,
but yeah, that thing with Spotify was really interesting because their in-house developers were like, we would like to use Spotify while we're doing the dev stuff. And they were like, okay, it's not, you guys can go ahead and do that. And they gave them their blessing and said, make the snap for it so you can do it on the Linux. And so as more of that rolls forward, we're going to start seeing more of that.
I think what you're going to find is a lot more what Joe had mentioned is a lot more unification around core components, like I keep working with the brisk menu for Mate, and Martin helping with his certain things in Solus, and Solus getting, snaps and flat pack and all their other stuff that they're doing. I think you're going to find a lot more congealment around that kind of stuff. I mean,
some overlay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collaboration has already picked up a lot, and it's no longer I do what I want.
Yeah, it's no longer siloed.
Like it used to be like that.
That
now
takes
it's
the
more,
fun out of it.
No, it helps.
They're basically right now because of the amount of attention that all these different distros are getting. You'll notice that most of the distros that are getting a bunch of attention are distros who do a lot of collaboration.
Yeah.
Like
Ubuntu,
Peppermint, Ubuntu, Mate, Solus, all of them are getting
Solus Elementary, all those guys.
a ton of it because they do that. And I think that's what the biggest thing that's going to make that more likely is that they're all collaborating. They're never going to be just like everybody join teams or whatever because
I'm actually the conductor of the SS Solus hype train, so I can definitely say that it's getting attention.
Yeah. I've jumped on board, Captain.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just got done installing Solus on the new laptop. So
toot.
All right, Tom.
I had some issues with it.
What's your prediction?
I'll say, but here's my prediction: is I think that Mozilla has shot itself in the foot, and I think that Mozilla is going to continue to lose some Firefox traction. And whether that means people, particularly on Linux, start moving to more Chromium or Vivaldi or something else, but I think that we're going to see a significant drop in Firefox's user base because the people who used Firefox were the people who didn't want the privacy issues, and that's what we seem to get, but we're getting them second-handedly. That's kind of my prediction. Firefox is going to lose some market share.
We'll lose market share.
Probably.
If they go to Basilisk or something like that, then that makes sense. If they go to anything that's proprietary, that would be ridiculous.
Mm.
Well, I don't think it has anything to do with being like people don't always think of it like being ridiculous or not being ridiculous. They just see privacy issues.
That's my opinion of the decision. If people do that, if you go to something that you can guarantee will violate your privacy, with something that you think, they might because they did a stupid move, they might continue to do so. Well, one is a guarantee, and one is like that's just a ridiculous decision. If you go to something like Basilisk or Pale Moon or whatever else like KDE Falcon or something, if you go to something that is, has a track record of not doing that and being privacy oriented, then okay, cool, enjoy. It's just
even if you jump to Chrome though, because you know what Chrome is doing.
Yeah. But that's
the problem Firefox is that
I'm offended by Mozilla because they did something that I'm now moving to something that I know they're doing. Like,
correct. And I wouldn't move to Chrome personally. Absolutely, I agree with that. Now, I've actually been moving WaterFox to most of my distros as I can, and I'm actually running WaterFox.
Scared about it.
What's that?
I'm scared about WaterFox, but I like what they're trying to do. I just don't know. I don't think they get.
I agree with you, and I think that the challenge we have is we have so many little browsers, but I'm not sure I can really wholeheartedly get behind any of them at this point in time.
My issue is that the ESR for 52 is not what WaterFox is based on, and the version WaterFox is based on is already about to lose
56.
support. Yeah, so like they have like this weird situation where they can't, but based on what their features that they want, they can't use 57. So they have to fork it like a hard fork, or just not exist anymore.
I actually found on my Windows computer, particularly, I have to use a WaterFox based on 55 because 56 breaks a lot of the legacy plugins I need to work, and so I'm getting weird issues in that. So I don't think WaterFox is the best solution, but it's the best temporary solution I have for now.
It's the best right now, yeah. Basilisk is probably going to be the one that's long term.
Basilisk.
I'll look at that. That's the new modern version of Pale Moon.
See, I believe in second chances, and the thing is here that this still goes to the point I made before about negativity. you may not like something that's being done, but don't bail on them right away. You go back, I think, sound off to the Firefox community and tell them, say, you know what, we want to support you. We want to see this succeed and, you know, be used over Chrome and all the other privacy mongers out there or whatever. But if you keep going down this path, you're going to see a mass exodus or whatever. We'd like to, we're giving you the heads up right now that, you know, we're an open source supportive community, and, you know, please listen to what we have to say. Otherwise, you know,
I agree with that. But
like
however, they've done multiple of these this year, and they're not listening to anybody, and they're not talking to anybody. That's the biggest problem.
I agree that they're probably going to be an exodus, and at least to a point. But they have been listening, and they did apologize for the stupid Looking Glass thing.
Yeah.
Like,
And also, when you first install Firefox, it actually gives you a tab that talks about privacy and that you should go and look at the settings and untick what you don't want. So I don't know what all this fuss about Mr. Robot was, because I went straight in there and said, don't send him any data, and I don't want to take any part in any experiments.
I think the fact that it's there to start out with, I think, is what ticked everybody off.
The biggest gripe was the fact that it was just there for
right.
My biggest gripe is that it was there completely against the policy of the company itself. It's one thing that Google has all of the data collection in, but they announce what they're doing. Mozilla's entire foundation is one on internet freedom and internet privacy, and they have violated both internet freedom and internet privacy on multiple fronts.
They violated security, not privacy.
Google talks out of both sides of its mouth anyway. It talks about, we respect privacy, but you are the product with Google. So you can't you can't. The same with Windows. Look at Windows 10. Hi, ads in my start menu, ads in my file browser. You know, you can't lambast Firefox for doing. They did something stupid. Don't get me wrong, but lambasting them in the same group as Google and Microsoft that's
no. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. What I said is that Google at least is telling you what they're doing and doing it.
What he's saying is, you know, Google's the guy looking over your shoulder.
What I'm saying is, if you actually look at Firefox or look at Mozilla's company founding, their guiding principles are completely against internet freedom, yet they pioneered for DRM. They are against data collection, but they did not. It wasn't just the robot thing. It was a few different little things that they did, which started to collect a bunch of weird data. And it's a little weird. We can get questionable on that because it was a very small percentage in one small country, but still it's enough,
and it was voluntary,
that it causes some challenges. So which one? The Germany one?
The Germany, they asked people in Germany, that 1% of Germany, they asked them, do they want to participate? You didn't have to participate.
Did they? Okay. Yeah.
But the other thing is,
it wasn't automatic, but
is DRM was not. They did not pioneer DRM. They did not try. They didn't want it at all. They spent 3-4 years fighting it over and over and over. Then they gave up.
And I fully understand why they incorporated it, because if you want to have a browser that's used, that's got to support the silly things that require it. And I get that. I understand that.
I think that that's
the problem with Vivaldi, because Vivaldi you can't use unless you've got a Flash plugin in there. You can't use it for some of your video features. Matter of fact, I think I told you a while back, Tom, that in Vivaldi I couldn't watch some of your videos. And I think when they went to DRM and Firefox, because if I remember right, when I first saw the new release come out, one of the things they talked about is no more having to do the user agent, add-ins and all this other. It was a chore to be able to get videos to work in there. So this was just a shortcut that works, and they kind of gave up and gave in.
And that's why I don't care about that as much. I'm not as bothered with that.
Right.
I agree that people are going to leave Mozilla. I just think the reasons are ridiculous. That's all.
Well, that's why I'm saying, instead of being, give them another chance and try to maybe voice it. And if it falls on deaf ears, then you do what you got to do. But they also have. I hate to say this, but they're probably doing it because they need to get money from somewhere, and that's how you get money these days in this world. And
they actually did a really funny.
Back to that. That's exactly.
They have a funny thing that they do for money.
It's not just about the ads.
They rage against the machine by taking money from the machine.
It's all the data mining they're doing of your information in your computer too.
But I mean, Mozilla doesn't data mine. And
no, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying I'm jump back. I segued back to Windows again because that was one of the other things we didn't touch on. It's not just the advertising and hoping you click on it, where Mozilla isn't anywhere near that. I see why they've done some of the things. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I see why they're doing it, because sometimes it becomes the path of least resistance, even if it's the wrong path.
I agree.
So,
yes, but you don't expect somebody like Mozilla to do it. The whole point of what Tom was saying about Google is you expect Google to do it. You don't expect Mozilla to do it because they're supposed to be against that type of thing.
No sense at all.
Yeah. It doesn't. And that's why I say instead of
that's reality, dude.
Ship, if everybody was
that's reality,
voice their opinion, which is why you probably got the apology this last time around, is because there were enough people screaming about it. They realized, hey, we hurt ourselves here, and
they didn't think about it because what they made was open source. It didn't track anybody. Anybody could remove it. It was voluntary, except for the fact that using it was voluntary. The installation of it was not. That part people got annoyed with, and it's perfectly fine to be annoyed with it because that was dumb. That was very dumb. But they did remove it immediately when people started getting mad about it. They did apologize about it. So it's like, I understand people are annoyed and want to leave, but it's like there is a limit to that because Mozilla does actually care, and they've proven that they care in multiple cases. They were the only browser company that spent years fighting DRM, and the only reason that they ever adopted it was because they had no choice. They either adopt DRM or the browser dies. That's just what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Don't you think DRM actually brought more users too?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my point.
With Quantum being incredibly fast and having the support for Netflix, which technically they don't have DRM built in the browser. They only have the EME stuff built in, which is like a framework loophole thing.
You got to check it in your preferences to be able to use it.
Right.
That's the other thing.
Well, it's funny because you go to play Netflix or something and you don't have that on, and it'll, hey, you need to turn this on in order to actually.
Almighty Om's got a good idea in chat. Here's an idea. Develop a way to harvest your own data and to sell it who you choose and for how much.
I like that.
I like that.
There you go.
All right, so moving on.
In the States, but.
Moving on. We got more predictions to go here. So, Michael, what's your prediction?
I got two. Ryan's not around, I guess. So I'm kind of.
Oh, I'm here to listen just to your.
He's here just so everybody knows.
I would never leave when Michael starts talking.
Just so everybody knows, when I'm recording Zoom, I hide the non-video participants. So if you turn off your camera, you will disappear from the screen.
I am back.
So
where's the applause? Nobody.
So earlier, Ryan said that he wanted to. He was disappointed that everybody was making safe predictions, and he wanted people to say something that is unlikely or just far-fetched. So, XFCE 4.14 will release in 2018.
Oh, that's so clever.
If it'll still be on GTK too.
I actually have Touch Digital and leave your comments if you like XFCE, and then unsubscribe from his channel.
That's just uncalled for.
We'll have to get Mr. Davis back on.
/unsubscribe.
I'm not. I actually do think that you just set up a perfect dab. So I do think they actually will release. Based on their track record, they're due to it. So I do bet that they will.
See, there you go. Dark One, be quiet during this.
There's another one though. So 2017 was the year of the Hannah Montana Linux desktop. 2018 will be the year of the Hannah !Montana Linux desktop.
Well, that deserves an applause.
There you go. Now, when can we expect an ISO for that?
Is that on a tablet, Michael? Can you show that again?
What kind of Kool-Aid
does it actually work?
Oh, no.
It's just a graphic.
This is
okay. I literally thought you had Hannah Montana running on a tablet. I was like, dude, that is genius if that's the case.
I mean, I could make that technically work, but...
but you'll have to wait 3 years for the video.
Yeah. But actually...
Kind of like we're still waiting on that review.
Like the announcement of the Hannah !Montana distro. that I'm sort of making.
Oh man,
wow.
You're bringing it back.
Not really. I'm
Wait,
making it.
what is it?
It's just a like one of those little interface layout things. It's going to turn whatever you want to that.
So Rocco, along those notes, because we just have to cover it since we're not going to have a Destination Linux this week. We'll be back the following week. But one of the news stories we were going to cover is Linux being more popular than Britney Spears, according to Google's search algorithms.
I'm pretty sure Trainwreck would be more.
Britney Spears of that fact right there.
Is that a prediction or
no? That's actually in the news.
That's Google Analytics.
According to Google Analytics, Linux was more popular than Britney Spears here. So trends showing that people are searching more for Linux or Ubuntu than they search for Britney Spears, Amazon Echo, or the Fitbit. So we win so much.
Okay, so how many people search for Alexa and not Echo? How many people?
Don't start throwing.
In comparison to Britney Spears, how many people?
Completion.
I search for toxic all the time.
Right. Okay. Sure. But what about?
You just described the Linux community.
Speaking of toxic, I think the amount of people who search for Britney Spears also search for Crazy Town Band.
Yeah. Well,
and the Spice Girls.
What I think we need to do is make a Britney Spears distro to get her back in the top searches there.
There you go.
What I think we need to do is move on. That's what I think we need to do.
Oh, come on.
Pumpkin time's coming close.
Yes, pumpkin time is coming close. So, Simon, what is your predictions?
Okay. I have a couple of them, actually.
Okay.
A couple of them I'm into. I'm sort of thinking that one of the Ubuntu flavors might possibly get up to date with high spins, just in 2018 sometime. Just one of the flavors.
One of the flavors will.
Do
we have any prediction on which flavor that might be? Or
I wonder.
That's pretty awesome if that's the case. I'll be pretty excited about that.
Prediction number 2. Ubuntu Next will become stable and usable.
Oh, wow.
2018.
Wow.
I told you guys to be edgy, but not that edgy.
Come on now.
I'm teasing.
Will become Did you say I'm writing this down? Did you say it will become usable?
It will become usable and stable.
Nice.
And he has until December 31st, 2018.
Well, that's a hope. I mean, I'm hoping that anything that gets released would be usable. That's good.
OpenShot doesn't make the cut.
No, doesn't. All right.
Okay.
That's a good burn.
I have more predictions though.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
LXQT 1.0 will be released.
That's an interesting one.
Wow, that would be fun.
That's
technically in beta because it's a point release, like a zero.
Disregard the point releases because 1.0 is only dependent on it being completely Wayland feature complete.
Oh, so you're doing an OpenSUSE thing with your numbers.
I don't know what OpenSUSE does with their numbers though.
They completely didn't do anything with their numbers because they're jumping from 42 point something to like 15 or something crazy.
Then I guess you're right then. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Will the LXQT menu include a search function, or does it already?
It includes it actually does include a search function.
And super key support.
It has one now, or you have to go check some boxes to find it. Because to me, that's menu.
That's like by default for several releases now. The LXQT panel has had search functionality built in by default.
Thank God. I will actually go try LXQT again because
frankly, when you go back to it,
any type of desktop environment that has no search function, I'm not. To me, that is. I have this thing where my friends talk about with gaming, where I will not play a game that you die if you instantly touch water, which is why I never played Red Dead Redemption, and it's called, the
what
Ryan
kind of
factor.
Game does that?
I have Red Dead Redemption does.
All the GTAs until 4.
And I have the same thing about a operating system. If you can't offer something that's been around since the 80s which is a search function in your menu. I will have nothing to do with your
Ryan.
environment.
Ryan,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know because I'm not intelligent enough to use it, but does i3 have one?
Oh, of course it does.
Okay, all right.
Yep, Control D, and you have a search.
It doesn't.
Right? Yes, it does.
It doesn't.
The only minor annoyance
included by the distro.
Well, because i3 is technically just a Windows manager, but every implementation of i3 has the Control D search function for your menu. So
right,
I'm
D menu
very
is a separate thing from
pleased
i3.
that they've actually included that.
There's only one minor annoyance. You do a search, you start the application you searched for, you go back to the menu, and the same search item is still there.
Yeah,
You have to
please
clear
don't.
it
If it
first.
doesn't clear, it shouldn't. It should.
It doesn't clear.
Come on, Simon. You've got to fix this. Get to coding this weekend.
Okay,
Simon,
yeah.
Do a Martin Wimpress. Give us like super key.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, what? What?
What are you miming to him?
I think he is.
What do you? I don't understand what you're saying though.
Just ignore me.
Done.
All right.
Anyway.
Done. So Simon, can we get these fixes in? Because I would really love. I dissed on LXQT in a video. People were very upset about it, and they keep telling me to go back to LXQT. I will go back to LXQT, but those things need to be fixed so I don't make it a flaming video again.
Hey, did you submit a bug report?
All right,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
look, we got to get going with the predictions because it's almost pumpkin time here.
Okay.
I have one more prediction.
Oh my gosh, Simon, come on.
Do it.
Helium. You guys know what Helium is?
Oh yeah, that thing.
What's that one cool project?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one
I
that's
think
supposed to actually work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it'll actually work and people will start adopting it.
Helium
would
will,
help us.
Let me write this down now. How Helium will actually work.
That's one L.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pronounced Holium. Thank you.
Okay,
You gotta
Shane.
hold your pinky out when you pronounce it.
Actually,
Shane,
it is
what's your
Holium.
prediction?
I asked him one time. He's like, no one's gonna guess that. He's like, yeah, I know.
Well, I believe Darktable's going to start encroaching on Adobe Lightroom. 'Cause
Nice.
Now that it's on Windows.
That's a good one.
And also
Right.
that Adobe tried to kill Lightroom.
Yep.
Yeah, then all the users were like, no.
Yeah, I think the classic way is what we wanted, not this Instagram thing.
All right, say that one more
Yep.
time.
Darktable will begin to encroach on Lightroom now that it is available on Windows.
And it's also been available on Mac for quite a while.
Can we just talk about the name Darktable for a moment?
I actually like it. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool, but if you break it down,
What do you do at a Darktable? You process film.
You use in
Darktable.
film photography, you had a light table, which was just
Oh, you're literally
illuminated
thinking
box,
about
and you
just
put
like
your
a dark table. No.
Yeah, that's why I was so confused.
I gotcha.
Photography.
We can skip Chicken's predictions.
Yeah, do that.
No, he already made his prediction. I think
Yeah,
everybody made their prediction. The only prediction I'm going to make to basically end this is to say that I'm going to stay on Solus for the year.
Wow.
Whoa.
This distro
And
hop-
not use Windows.
Welcome aboard, Rocco.
I'm just saying.
Look
Just
how
saying.
I'm probably not
Rocco is.
far
He's
behind
like,
you.
You're gonna give up KDE because this is the year of KDE.
Scrap. Come over.
I love Solus, but there's some
Rocco's
audio things that are just like
to tram
but
number.
I was going to
We're
say,
getting
scrap
there.
is it because you're using KX?
Yeah.
KX. Yeah, I have to have the KX Studio repos. That
That is
they
a
are the
very
best.
Good, that is a very good reason.
And he's actually going to be coming to Neon, I think.
Oh yeah, fine.
For all of his distro when he rolls it out. There's some news about that over at KX Studio.
Nice.
Yep.
He's hinting very loudly.
Is
Very
that
loudly.
tuxdigital.com/?
No, that's kxstudio.linuxmusicians.org, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But okay.
Okay, so it's pumpkin time. That's all I can say.
Last words.
Yep.
So thank you guys for showing up all this year. And
I'm gonna have to buy it.
You're welcome.
Next week.
It's been a great time talking to everybody. And everybody in chat, thanks for showing up.
Yep.
Everybody have a happy new year.
Yes.
And we'll see you next year.
Mm-hmm.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New
Happy
Year.
New Year.
New Year.
Happy New Year.
That's the last word. Happy New Year.
Is that the last word?
Yep.
The last
That is
word.
it. Challenge accepted.
Ha.
New Year.
Oh.